This weekend is Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor, which is really difficult to say because there's a lot of D's and honors in there. Pay-per-view events. So we're going to run down the quick and do some quick run down the card real quick, do some quick predictions. Unfortunately, Danny's not here to give all of us nicknames, and I am just not clever enough to do so. So people will be using their actual names. Let's start with the pre-show, which was announced on Wednesday on Dynamite, which is Willow Nightingale against Allison Kay. James, I will start with you because I don't know who Allison Kay is. Who do you have in this pre-show match?
I'm going to give it to Nightingale simply because they're booking her on AEW television, and I think they're going to want to make her look strong. That way, when she takes losses on AEW television, at least she's gotten some wins under her belt. So I'm going Nightingale.
Do you know who Allison Kay is?
Yes, I've seen her before. I'm still going to go with Nightingale, though.
Would you care to expand upon who she is?
I'm not
any idea.
I'm not super familiar with her. I've seen her work before, and I think it'll be a fun match. But I can't say I'm an expert on her.
Okay, I'll take it. Chad, who do you got?
I also have Willa. I've seen Allison in a few matches, I believe. That's probably all. And Willa's on TV, as James said.
Yeah, I'll make that 3 for Willow Nightingale. She is on the, I don't know if she's all elite, but she's on AEW a lot. She had a match this past week with Jade. So even though she ended up losing, she's looked pretty good in her matches. I think she does pretty well on Dark and Dark Elevation. So I think, like James said, it makes sense for her to win here and help elevate her for these other matches on Dynamite, Rampage, and so on and so forth. All right, let's move along. We have the Righteous, who are the 6-man champs, against Dalton Castle and the boys. I've missed Dalton Castle. I haven't seen him in a while. I love him. So this is for those Ring of Honor 6-man championships. So Chad, who you got?
Okay, I want you guys to make sure I'm correct. Dalton Castle has no pending cases or anything, right?
No.
Okay, awesome. I fucking love Dalton Castle. I just wanted to make sure that he didn't have anything that I could not be proud of. I love Dalton Castle. I've been watching promos and matches of him for years. He was reminiscent of Tyler Breeze to me, or vice versa, however you want to put that. So I just always been kind of fond of him. So I'm going Dalton Castle.
Yeah, no, I love Dalton Castle too, man. He's so funny. He does the flamingos, right, James?
Yes,
those his guys.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was great on BTE for a while when he was on. He's in one of my favorite Danhausen bits of all time. That no swearing. Like,
oh yes,
I think that the gif that you always see of Danhausen going no swearing is with him, and they play off each other great. Dalton Castle is a whole lot of fun. James, I don't really know the Righteous. So before I make my pick, if you can give me a little bit of background on them and then make your pick as well.
I'm actually really surprised that the Righteous are on this card simply because Vincent, formerly known as Vinny Marsaglia, is an Impact talent, or at the very least has been with Impact. I'm a little behind on my Impact, guys, so don't shoot me. But he's been part of Honor No More. So I don't know if he's working on a per appearance deal with Impact. I don't know if that run is over for him, but the Righteous is his group that he formed after he left the Kingdom, after he left Matt Taven. I don't want to say that it's a horror group, but Vincent is definitely more of a creepy character. Vinny himself is a big horror fan, and he incorporates a lot of that into his work. So they are definitely going to be the heels of this group. And I am rooting for Dalton Castle and the boys. I'm hoping Dalton is one of Ring of Honor's more like later era champions. And he became champion at a time where his body really couldn't go anymore. He was really dealing with some heavy back injuries, and it hurt his run, and it hurt him after he lost the title. I'm hoping that all this time off, or at the very least this this lighter schedule, has done enough for him that he can go at a higher rate again. And him being a 6-man champ where he could share the load with 2 other guys is...
Sorry, I gave James a bit of a look.
Hey, yo.
I mean, if it was appropriate for anybody, it would be Dalton Castle.
That's the only reason I threw the look, even though we're only one screen at a time here. I couldn't resist.
As Dalton Castle has said in the past, one man should never touch another man's boys. And don't do it here either, Nick. Don't fuck with that man's boys. So, yeah, I'm rooting for Dalton Castle and the boys. I'm very excited. And I hope he's a character that this new audience of Ring of Honor will latch onto, because he is so, so good.
Yeah, I'll make it 3 again. Like I said before, I love Dalton Castle. He's just a really, really good time. And in the ring. And
what's happening? What's happening?
Spooky hours.
Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. No, I think you're right. I think him being, a Ring of Honor stalwart is good, and that he'll stay. And if he's champ, it'll help bring in, I think, some of the older crowd who's maybe a little unsure about this new version of Ring of Honor. So I think making him champ allows them to. It allows an access point for the older crowd. Be like, oh, Dalton Castle's back, cool. We'll go, and he's champ, cool. We'll watch for him. All right. Next, we have the Ring of Honor Pure Title Championship match between the champion Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia of the Jericho Appreciation Society. Man, I know it's the Pure Title, but everything we've seen the past, I was going to say a few weeks, but the past few months out of the Jericho Appreciation Society on Dynamite has led me to believe that there will be shenanigans in this, James. Even though I don't want there to be, but I mean, come on, it's the Jericho Appreciation Society. I think it's going to happen.
I hate how good you are at that. I hope there's a limit on shenanigans, simply because I don't want Ring of Honor to have the same identity as AEW. AEW, I think we've all grown accustomed to at this point. There will be outside interference. There will be shenanigans in a lot of the matches. And that's fine. That's the identity they want to go for. I don't want that for Ring of Honor, and I specifically don't want that for the Pure title. That's why that title was created. It was meant to be more for like the technical aspect of wrestling. It was meant to be more for the old school feel of wrestling, and I think these 2 kids are perfectly embodying that spirit. So win or lose, I want it to be a good matchup, and I think they're both capable of it. This is the hardest one for me to call. I think I'm gonna stick with Wheeler Yuta. I think so, but I could easily see Garcia taking it too, because he, like I said, he embodies this idea. So I'm going to stick with Wheeler Yuta, but I am totally willing to eat crow because Garcia has it.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a bit of a 50-50 toss-up here. It's really too close to call. And I don't want there to be shenanigans. I'm on your side here. I think, it being the Pure title, like, just let these kids go at it, put on, a minimum 4.5-star match, which I think they're both easily capable of doing, and just tear the house down. We don't need the Jericho Appreciation Society coming in. We don't need the Blackpool Combat Club coming in after the original, Jericho Appreciation Society shenanigans. Like, I feel like that would just take away from this match, and just let these kids just go at it and just tear the house down. Chad, you with us on this? And who you got?
I completely agree. I actually do think there will be a few shenanigans. I hope it doesn't overshadow how good the match can be, because as you guys have said, these guys can go. I'm going to play devil's advocate just because Danny's not here and go Garcia just to fuck with James, even though I know he knows it's 50% Garcia. Like this is actually a really hard match to.
I don't even know that I'd be mad if Garcia won.
I wouldn't be mad at all.
I'd be disappointed because I really like Wheeler, but like I wouldn't be mad. I do think it'd be a little bit ironic that the sports entertainer, has the Ring of Honor Pure Championship.
That's true.
So that is one thing.
You never know.
I'm gonna stick with Wheeler though, and have him win. I think that the BCC has been taking a few too many losses against the Jericho Appreciation Society. I know they won Blood and Guts a few weeks ago, but I think especially after this past week on Dynamite, Eddie losing to Jericho with the shark cage and the barbed wire and all that overbooking shenanigans. I'm using the word shenanigans a lot with this, but it's working. With all that overbooking, like I think them getting the win back in general would be good for them. I also think keeping titles within the BCC is smart, especially this one. I feel like is a title that embodies the Blackpool Combat Club, the Pure Championship.
Yeah, you're right. I'm going.
No, you already picked.
No, you're stuck. You're stuck.
No takes backsies.
Okay, fine.
So I think Wheeler keeps the title here. It makes too much sense to me, and I think they like him having it. It seems to work well for him. Right. Move on to now the Ring of Honor Women's Championship match, which is the champion Mercedes Martinez against the Professor Serena Deeb. I'll go first in this just to mix it up. I actually really like Deeb here. I think this is a really good spot for her to win a title. She's been doing a lot of winning lately, including she beat Sheeta a little while back in their feud, even though I don't think that feud's ever going to end. And I don't remember if she fought Thunder Rosa. I feel like she did, and I'm blanking on it. But even if she didn't, this is a good opportunity for her to win a title and capitalize on some of the momentum she's had in the ring of late. So I think it'd be really smart. I don't love Martinez as a champion anyway. I feel like she's highly underutilized. At least we see Deeb on TV in AEW. So I got Deeb here. Chad, who you got?
You and I are like, Deeb has been doing some of her greatest work this last year with Sheeta, and even the other matches, she's been doing phenomenal. You're not a fan of Martinez as a champion. I am not a fan of Martinez as a wrestler, a personality, or anything above, really. Sorry to say. So I am going Serena. I'm hoping Serena wins. This is the only match where I'm actually crossing my fingers and praying that I'm correct. But yeah, Serena's on TV. It makes the most sense. She needs something because she's been having a phenomenal year. Give it to Deeb.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like she's been having bangers ever since she had that match against Rio in the pre-show.
Agreed.
That was a long time ago. That was still in Jacksonville. Yeah. But that was such a good match, and ever since then, I don't think she's really even had a bad one. She had a match against Anna Jay 2 weeks ago, and even that wasn't it was her worst one, and it wasn't that bad.
Did she wrestle Marina Shafir?
No crowd. I don't remember. She might have.
Not that I know of.
At least not on Dynamite. I can at least say she hasn't wrestled her on Dynamite. Perhaps on Dark or Dark Elevation. Although they've been protecting Shafir, so I don't know if they want to run her up against Deeb either, even down on the YouTube shows. But James, who you got?
I too have Deeb. I think she again very much fits the Ring of Honor mentality, or at least the Ring of Honor of old. And I think Mercedes was very much a transitional champion. They needed to crown a champion because Deonna Purrazzo couldn't appear at Supercard of Honor, or they didn't want Deonna Purrazzo to appear at Supercard of Honor, and they needed to get the belt off of her because she's an Impact talent. So I think they just used Mercedes to get us there, and then her dropping it to Serena, who has been on fire, and I understand for whatever reason they don't want to put an AEW title on her. This is a good way of putting some shine on her without disrupting whatever path they have the women's titles going down.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, and I do actually, Mercedes had a unification match against Perazo on Dynamite a few weeks after Supercard of Honor, which I didn't really like, which is weird because I like Deonna Purrazzo. I think she's a really good wrestler, and I personally, maybe it's just my bias he's coming through. I put that a little more on Martinez, but
I don't really blame either of them.
it might have just been a stylistic thing.
They didn't have a lot of time to begin with. It was the main event,
which is only 10 minutes, which is dumb.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of time. The AEW crowd is used to seeing Mercedes Martinez lose, and they weren't familiar with Deonna Purrazzo at all. Like, some fans, I'm sure, were. Like you said you were. I'm a huge fan of Deonna Purrazzo, but not everybody knew her, and AEW didn't really build her up at all. So the crowd, which is such a big factor in getting a match to really feel special, wasn't there. So they had limited time, no fan support, no build up, no booking. The match was doomed to fail, and it did.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because I don't dislike Mercedes Martinez. I haven't really liked her too much. I think when I saw her in NXT there, when she was there briefly, I actually enjoyed her work there. She just hasn't really done it for me in AEW, but hopefully this match is good because I always want the women to have a good showing, especially on a Tony Khan card, because they sometimes have difficulty doing so, and the better they do, hopefully more time Tony gives them. So, all right, next we have the Ring of Honor Television Championship. Samoa Joe, who has been champ, even though he's been a little absent from television of late, against Jay Lethal, who has been constantly on television of late. So, Chad, I'll start with you. Who you got?
That's actually ironic and hilarious that you said that the TV champion is not on TV. I think I'm going Lethal here. I believe James said something earlier on the live where Lethal wins and we get Samoa Joe in the AEW television capacity. I do agree with that. I think that's going to happen. So yeah, I'm going Lethal here.
Yeah, I really wish I know what company Joe was actually contracted to. So
it is AEW.
It is actually AEW.
Yeah.
Okay, so then yeah.
Because I was gonna say I feel like that would influence my decision more. Because
I mean, admittedly, Lethal is also contracted to AEW. He's not.
Is he?
Yeah, they both are AEW contracted talent.
Yeah, but James, who you have? Because now I don't know what to do.
I have Lethal for exactly what Chad said. I think we're going to see Joe more on AEW TV. And I think we're going to see Lethal go back to Ring of Honor, where admittedly, Lethal excelled in his time in Ring of Honor. He carried the company for a very long time. And admittedly, Joe is the longest reigning Ring of Honor champion of all time. But it was two very different eras. I think Lethal's act right now with Sanjay Dutt and
Satnam Singh.
Satnam Singh, thank you. I think that act works a little bit better in Ring of Honor than it will in AEW. And Singh needs time to develop a little bit more, and Ring of Honor is the place to do that, not necessarily AEW. So I think Lethal would excel from being in that environment. He's very good at training people too. I think at one point he was I think he was the head trainer in Ring of Honor. So he's definitely an experienced hand that you could count on to help develop younger talent. And him being the world television champion just puts him in a situation where he'll be interacting with a lot of them. So I think it'll be him. I never like betting against Samoa Joe, but I think it's going to be Lethal. And I'm hoping this means that we start to see Joe on Dynamite a little bit more and Rampage a little bit more. And fuck it. Give me Samoa Joe versus Kenny Omega to go back to what we were talking about a while ago.
Yeah, I will take that any day of the week and twice on Sunday. I wanted to give a super hot take here, but I don't really think I can argue against either of you. It works so much more that Lethal and, like you said, James, Singh and Sanjay are on Ring of Honor, whereas I also really, really want Joe back on Dynamite. I think he was doing great there, even though it can get a little crowded. So I'm gonna pick Lethal, even though I obviously want Joe to win. But it's just the logic of him dropping the belt and being able to go back to AEW on a more consistent basis and letting Lethal stay in Ring of Honor just makes way too much sense. Now, hilariously, it'd be funny if Joe kept the title and they did the complete opposite, but who knows? That's why we're not bookers.
We're just a couple of marks.
Yep, literally in the podcast title. All right, let's go to what has a really good chance to be match of the night. The Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship match. FTR with all three of their technically all six of their belts versus the Briscoes in a 2 out of 3 falls match. This match is most likely going to fuck. The first one was great. And James, I imagine 2 out of 3 falls, there's a lot of room for them to work. This is going to probably be very long. And I am really, really looking forward to this one.
This is probably the match I'm most excited for as well. I think the Briscoes are one of the best tag teams in all of wrestling that especially have never really gotten their flowers. And it's just because they were never on a bigger stage. They were always Ring of Honor talent. I think they're the longest signed Ring of Honor talent at this point of all time. There's probably a reason for that also, but they are an incredible team. They are incredible wrestlers, and their legacy is cemented as such. FTR is quickly cementing their legacy as quite possibly one of the best tag teams of all time as well. And this is going to be an incredible battle. It's going to be a war. 2 out of 3 falls. I think we're going to get to that third fall, let me tell you. And I think I'm giving it to the Briscoes simply because I think we're going to see them more consistently on Ring of Honor television. And I think we're going to see FTR stick with AEW. And I love the fact that they had this moment with those belts, that they have the Ring of Honor tag titles, the IWGP tag titles, and the AAA tag titles. But this doesn't need to be a long-term thing. As far as I'm concerned, they got the picture wearing all 3. We're good. They've had the Ring of Honor belts for a little while now, a few months now. Let it go back to the Briscoes and let FTR focus more on the AEW tag team division.
I think I'm going to disagree. Well, let me ask you a question first, though. Are the Briscoes still under Ring of Honor contract?
I'll be very honest.
Up in the air still because of what happened when Ring of Honor was being sold.
I have no idea who is under any type of contract when it comes to Ring of Honor. I know certain people are under deals with AEW and they have AEW contracts. I know certain people have supposedly signed deals with Tony Khan, and I don't know what that means in terms of it being a Ring of Honor contract or just a contract that they've signed with Tony Khan. I know Jonathan Gresham has signed, the Ring of Honor World Champion has signed with Tony Khan. I don't know if that means he signed a Ring of Honor contract or an AEW contract or what that means. But I know contracts are being signed. As far as it comes to the Briscoes, if I'm being very honest, they come with a lot of baggage. Apparently, they've come a long way in terms of rectifying certain problems and certain troubled pasts, but I don't know how. I'm trying to say this very politically correct. I don't know how much equity they have with people higher up. So that said, they didn't need to be booked for this show. Tony Khan doesn't need to honor anything. He bought a company. He could fire whoever he wants to fire. He could choose not to have whoever he doesn't want to have. So the fact that he's bringing them back means there's something there. I don't necessarily know that means there's a win coming for them, but I think it means something. And personally, I'm choosing to believe that that means they're going to walk away with the tag titles. But I wouldn't be surprised. Right now, FTR is so hot, I wouldn't bet against I have trouble ever betting against them too. So it's very much going to be a crapshoot. I am going to be at the edge of my seat throughout the match, but I think at the end of it, the Briscoe brothers, I think, are going to be 12-time Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions.
Yeah, see, that's why a lot of what you said is kind of why I don't think they're going to win. Now, obviously, there's the whole Warner and Discovery merger deal going on right now. And like you said, the Briscoes come with some baggage. I was shocked that they were on this card when it was announced. I thought that FTR won the titles, they got them off the Briscoes, and the Briscoes were going to be able to go on their merry way. And that was probably the last we were going to see of them in Ring of Honor. But they're back, at least for this match, which is very intriguing for a multitude of reasons, most of which you laid out. But I don't know. I don't think now is the time to have FTR lose. They are just way too red hot right now. They look great with all three of those sets of belts. It's just I don't see it right now. So I'm going to take FTR. And I guess, Chad, that makes you the deciding vote. No pressure.
How wonderful. I agree with both of you slightly and all of your points. I want to say, I mean, like you guys said, why bring the Briscoes back unless they're going to win? But I have to agree with Rev. It's something about FTR. I don't know if I don't see it or maybe if it's favoritism, but I don't really see them losing anything at the moment. Like, they're on top of the world. They are smoking. And I think until they have something else to do in AEW, which they'll always be there anyway, I say keep the belts on them.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point that you guys both make. I don't know. I think we're going to see some surprises at this pay-per-view. That's personally where I am, and I think this is going to be one of them.
Oh, but I can't wait. I'm dying to be wrong. I love being wrong. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, and speaking of surprises, I wouldn't be surprised if we got, a debut or two, people that Tony has signed and kept under wraps that just show up, which I'm sure they're coming, and I'm going to be really excited to see whoever it is. I got any predictions on a random appearance?
Oh boy. I don't know about an appearance, but I have a feeling we're going to get an announcement regarding a TV show.
Yeah, I think so too. It's about fucking time that we do.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like we say this almost every week on our live show after Dynamite. Ring of Honor is taking up a lot of TV time, and it needs to become its own thing. And because we're not watching AEW Ring of Honor, we're watching AEW Dynamite. It's like the pollution's getting a little bit too much, and maybe holding back some other, Dynamite storylines. So hopefully we get that TV show in place, and we can start having those storylines shift to that, and maybe open up a bit more for some more stuff on Dynamite. All right, let's finish out the card here with some aforementioned names. For the Ring of Honor World Championship, we have the champion, Jonathan Gresham, who, as James mentioned, has just signed with Tony Khan, which I did not know, which helps in my decision-making, against one Claudio Castagnoli. Yes. I've actually never tried to say that before, so I got it. Hooray me. So,
hooray.
Chad, I'll go to you first because I don't really know who I'm picking here yet, and I need time to fill.
Okay. Sheesh. This is another actual hard one because you think of all the history Claudio has had, and for him to have a full circle moment would be amazing right now. Gresham has had it for how long, James? Do you know?
He's had it since Super Card of Honor. So he's had it since April. Yeah.
Okay, it's only July.
Oh yeah, because there was that whole thing with like the other title, and like wasn't there a whole mess with the titles for a while?
What had happened was, you know what, he might have actually. I apologize. I take it back. He's had it before April. He won it in December, in a match against Jay Lethal. He was supposed to have won it. He was supposed to have faced Bandito, the Ring of Honor World Champion, at the last Ring of Honor pay-per-view before
they shut everything down for a while.
But before Tony Khan bought it. Yeah, so I guess for a few months.
Okay.
So what had happened, though, was Bandito had gotten sick. He had gotten COVID, and he had to pull out. So they decided that they were going to have, they were going to crown, I guess, an interim champion.
Didn't they use the old title?
Yes, the original Ring of Honor title. And Gresham went against his old mentor and tag team partner, Jay Lethal, who was signed with AEW at the time. And Gresham won. And then the plan was to have a unification match at Supercard of Honor, which was in April, and Gresham won that. So Gresham has held a Ring of Honor title since December. He has been the undisputed Ring of Honor champion since April.
Okay. I don't know why I thought that would help my decision, because it actually made it just made it a little more complex. I think as perfect a situation it would be for Claudio to win, for some strange reason, maybe the comeuppance of Gresham, I feel like Gresham will retain. Maybe just, if anything, to get his name up to, so that when he transitions to AEW or however that goes, maybe it'll just look better for him. I don't know. I'm really, really distraught about it. I'm just gonna go Gresham.
All right, and for one last time, we go to John Cena guy from Ring of Honor for his pick for this Ring of Honor World Championship.
I am really struggling with this because my heart wants to say Claudio so bad. They've really emphasized the fact, especially on the countdown, Claudio has never won a world title. When he was,
now you tell me.
Yeah. when he was in Ring of Honor, he just won the tag titles there in the Kings of Wrestling. I think this would be a great way of making Claudio a world champion without putting the AEW title on him, which, hey, if you want to put the AEW title on Claudio, do it. I'm not going to say no, but I think this is a good way of sort of killing two birds with one stone. And I don't know. I think Claudio is proving how hot he is right now. I think prior to his debut, I would have said if he had just debuted for Ring of Honor, it would have been totally Gresham for me. It would have been a nice feather in his cap. But now I feel like Claudio's reception, the crowd, might be forcing Tony's hand and forcing him to put the title around Claudio's waist. So we'll see. Also, just going to put this out there. If there is going to be a debut, I wouldn't be shocked if it's Chris Hero. To maybe challenge the new champion, his former tag team partner, Claudio. But we'll see.
So I guess you're picking Claudio then.
I'm picking Claudio. It's just Gresham is good. Gresham is good. It'll be hard to see him lose too.
I'm still torn, even though I let both you guys go first, because I feel like Tony is a bit of a mark for Claudio. And
we've all seen the picture. We've all seen the hug.
Which is funny because they're both like, that has been so misconstrued. But even still, like, I think he's just a mark for Claudio just because I think he's a mark for Ring of Honor. So, you know, so there's that. And I think Gresham is still a really good champ, and having him as champion is, you know, not even, more than perfectly fine for Ring of Honor. Because I'm losing my train of thought here because I got like 18 points running around in my head. The thing with Claudio is he was a replacement for Brian in the BCC. So he's still running with them right now. And he probably will be even past this. Like, I'm sure he'll still keep his affiliation if he ends up more in Ring of Honor than he does in AEW. But he's running with them until Brian comes back. And we're not really sure when that is. And I don't know if...
I don't think he's running with them until Brian comes back. I think he's going to be running with them even when Brian comes back.
No, I know, but I think that if he's in Ring of Honor, you know, more than he is in AEW, it's one thing. But when Brian comes back. I think until then, he's going to be in AEW more than he's in Ring of Honor, depending on what happens with the TV show, assuming we actually get one. And so even though I think the plan was originally to have Claudio in Ring of Honor, now he's in AEW, and it's all like really convoluted with him. So it makes it difficult for me to say, yeah, they're going to put the title on him, because I don't know if they know what his future really is. I'm not entirely sure he was supposed to be in the BCC. I'm not entirely sure he was even supposed to be on AEW all too much. I think he was going to be a Ring of Honor guy. But Brian got hurt. They needed a replacement, and it just happened to work out, which leads me to kind of think Gresham is keeping it. I want Claudio to win. I want him to have a world title. I want him to be champ. I love Claudio. But I just think his future in terms of where he's going to be and what he's going to be doing and who he's going to be doing with is just a little too cloudy at the moment to put the title on. They could do it in the future. I think they will do it in the future. But just for the present moment, he's just involved in so much shit in AEW with the BCC, with the feud with the Jericho Appreciation Society, with all of that, that until Brian comes back, that's going to end up being his main focus. And I don't think it behooves them to do both. So I know I got there. It was a little roundabout. I had to stumble my way through it, but
that was a good point.
I think it's going to end up with Gresham retaining. So I think we're all very much looking forward to that pay-per-view. I do believe that is on Saturday. Contact your local pay-per-view provider if you still do that, or just go on the internet like normal people do nowadays.